I never thought I'd be in this situation at 31. Living in the city for the past 8 years with my wife, who's a year older than me, we built what I always believed was a rock-solid relationship. Well, at least until recently. When I first met my wife at a local coffee shop, it felt like one of those moments you see in movies. You know, where everything just clicks into place. We connected instantly over our shared love for indie music and terrible puns. After a few years of dating, filled with countless adventures and learning about each other's quirks, we decided to tie the knot. Our wedding was everything we'd hoped for. Intimate, surrounded by our closest friends and family. I remember looking at her walking down the aisle, thinking I was the luckiest person alive. The following years were like a beautiful journey we took together, supporting each other through every up and down. When I lost my job during a company downsizing, she was my rock. When her dad got sick, I was there for every hospital visit. We weren't just married, we were best friends. But life has a way of throwing curveballs when you least expect them. It started with what seemed like a normal dinner at home. We were having our usual Tuesday night pasta. It's kind of become our tradition over the years. My wife seemed a bit nervous, playing with her food more than eating it. I noticed she'd barely touched her garlic bread, which was unusual since it's usually the first thing to disappear from her plate. Then she dropped the bombshell. She wanted to try something new in our relationship, something that would involve bringing someone else into our most intimate moments. My fork froze halfway to my mouth as she explained that my friend Claire had apparently expressed interest in joining us. Claire, someone we'd known for years, someone who'd been to our game nights, someone who'd helped us move into our apartment. The pasta suddenly felt like lead in my stomach. I sat there, trying to process what I was hearing. My wife continued talking, her words coming out faster now, explaining how she'd been thinking about this for a while, how she wanted to explore this side of herself, how it could be something exciting for us both. But all I could think about was how our perfect little world was starting to crack. The kitchen, with its familiar yellow walls and the slightly crooked calendar we never bothered to straighten, felt different somehow, foreign, like I was seeing it through someone else's eyes. I tried to stay calm, to be understanding, but inside, my mind was racing. How long had she been thinking about this? Why Claire? What did this mean for us? The questions piled up like a tower of blocks, each one making the structure more unstable. As days passed, the tension between us grew. The comfortable silences we used to share turned awkward. The casual touches, a hand on the shoulder while passing in a hallway, a quick kiss before leaving for work, became rare. I found myself pulling away whenever she came close, not even realizing I was doing it until I caught the hurt look in her eyes. Then came the ultimatum. 2 weeks. That's what she gave me to decide. 2 weeks to either accept this new reality or, well, she didn't exactly say what would happen if I didn't, but her tone made it clear enough. Our 8 years together, all our shared memories and dreams, now hinged on this one decision. I spent countless nights lying awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to her steady breathing beside me. Sometimes I look at her sleeping face, so peaceful and familiar, and wonder how we got here. The physical distance between us in bed feels like miles now, when just a few weeks ago, we would naturally gravitate toward each other in our sleep. Every morning, I wake up hoping it was just a bad dream, but reality hits as soon as I open my eyes. The deadline is getting closer, and I still don't know what to do. My principles, everything I believed in about marriage and commitment, are being tested. And the worst part, I can feel her slipping away, little by little, with each day that passes without an answer. Yesterday, I tried talking to her about it again. We were in the living room, that same room where we've spent countless evenings watching movies and sharing stories about our day. But this time, everything felt different. She sat on the edge of the couch, as far from me as possible, while I struggled to find the right words. "I just need to understand," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "Why now? Why Claire?" She explained that she'd been questioning her sexuality, exploring feelings she'd never fully acknowledged before. Claire wasn't just a random choice. They'd been having conversations about it, and something had developed between them. My stomach twisted at this revelation. How long had these conversations been going on without my knowledge? The way my wife's eyes lit up when she talked about Claire made my heart sink. I remembered all the times Claire had been over at our place, game nights, dinner parties, movie marathons. Had I been blind this whole time? Were there signs I should have noticed? Every memory of the three of us together now felt tainted, like looking at old photographs and suddenly noticing something unsettling in the background. I couldn't help but think about Claire differently now. She'd been a good friend to both of us, always there when we needed help with anything. When we adopted our cat last year, she even helped us pick him out at the shelter. Now, I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal. Was she thinking about this even then? Were they both? The physical distance between my wife and me has become unbearable. That natural rhythm we used to have, where we'd automatically reach for each other's hand while watching TV or lean into each other while cooking in the kitchen, it's all gone. Now, every movement feels calculated, every touch loaded with tension. Last night, she tried to cuddle up to me in bed like she used to. But I found myself tensing up, my body betraying my discomfort before my mind could even process it. I saw the hurt in her eyes as she pulled away, turning to face the wall instead. The silence between us was deafening. The deadline she gave me keeps ticking away like a time bomb. I find myself watching the calendar with growing anxiety, each passing day bringing me closer to a decision I'm not ready to make. Sometimes I catch her looking at her phone, smiling at messages, and I wonder if she's talking to Claire. The thought makes my chest tight. Our friends have started to notice something's wrong. Last weekend, when we met up with our usual group for brunch, everyone could feel the tension between us. We've always been that couple that others looked up to, the ones who still held hands under the table and shared inside jokes. Now we barely make eye contact across the table. The worst part is I can see how much this means to her. When she talks about exploring this side of herself, there's a passion in her voice I haven't heard in a long time. Part of me wants to be supportive, to be the understanding husband who can put his own feelings aside for her happiness. But another part of me feels like I'm being asked to destroy everything I believe about love and marriage. I've tried imagining what it would be like giving in to her request. Would it save our marriage? Or would it just be the first step down a path that leads us further apart? The thought of sharing her with anyone, let alone someone we both know, makes me feel physically sick. But the thought of losing her completely is even worse. Every time I look at our wedding photos on the wall, I remember the vows we made. For better or worse, we said. But I don't think either of us imagined this kind of worse when we stood there in front of our families, full of hope for our future together. Now I find myself wondering what those vows really mean. Does being true to her mean betraying myself? Today marks the end of my first week of decision time. Just 7 more days to figure out whether I'm willing to change everything about our relationship to keep it from falling apart. The irony of that isn't lost on me. I tried talking to my best friend about it yesterday. We met at our usual spot, this small pub where the music's never too loud for conversation. He listened without judgment as I poured everything out, the proposal, the ultimatum, the growing distance. When I finished, he just sat there for a moment, spinning his beer glass on the coaster. "Have you considered that maybe this isn't really about Claire at all?" he finally asked. His words hit me like a punch to the gut. He might be right. Maybe this is about something deeper, something we've been missing in our relationship without even realizing it. This morning, I woke up to find my wife already gone, a note on the kitchen counter saying she'd gone to meet Claire for coffee. Those words on the yellow sticky note made my hands shake. I couldn't even eat breakfast, my stomach in knots thinking about them together, discussing our private life, maybe even laughing about my indecision. I spent the whole day at work staring at my computer screen, not really seeing anything. My coworkers probably think I'm losing it. Maybe I am. Every time my phone buzzes, I jump thinking it might be her telling me she's made the decision for us by moving on without me. The thing is, I keep coming back to one question. If I say yes, would it really be me anymore? Would I recognize the person looking back at me in the mirror? And if I say no, am I being selfish? Old-fashioned? Too rigid in my beliefs about what a marriage should be? Tonight, when she came home, something felt different. She looked tired, like she'd been crying. We ended up sitting at our kitchen table, that same spot where this whole thing started. For the first time in weeks, we really talked not about Claire or the ultimatum, but about us. About how we got here. She admitted she's scared too. Scared of losing me, but also scared of never exploring this part of herself. I told her about my fears, of not being enough, of losing what we have, of crossing a line we can't uncross. We both cried, sitting there with our cold cups of coffee, the kitchen clock ticking away in the background. I still don't have an answer. Part of me wants to believe we're strong enough to survive anything, even this. Another part whispers that some lines, once crossed, change everything forever. The deadline looms closer, and with each passing hour, the weight of this decision feels heavier. Yesterday, I found myself looking at old videos on my phone, random clips from our vacations, birthday celebrations, lazy Sunday mornings. In every single one, we look so happy, so certain of our place in each other's lives. Now I wonder if we'll ever feel that certainty again. Tomorrow marks the beginning of my final week to decide. 7 days to either accept a completely new version of our relationship or potentially watch 8 years of marriage crumble away. 7 days to figure out if I can bend without breaking, or if standing firm means standing alone. As I sit here writing this, she's asleep in our bed. I can hear her soft breathing from the living room, a sound that used to bring me comfort but now fills me with a mix of love and dread. I know I need to make a decision soon. I know our relationship hangs in the balance. But tonight, I'm just trying to remember how it felt when things were simpler. When love was enough. When the hardest decision we had to make was what to watch on Netflix or where to go for dinner. They say love conquers all, but they never tell you what happens when love pulls you in 2 different directions at once. Maybe that's what growing up really means, realizing that sometimes there are no right answers, only choices we have to live with. And as I sit here in the dark, listening to the quiet sounds of our apartment, I wonder which choice I'll be living with when these 2 weeks are over.